I'm back in one of my favourite spots, back up at Scarhouse Reservoir in North Yorkshire. I only planned on having a drive today, just sitting in the car, plodding around and generally relaxing. But, well, I couldn't pass up on walking a lap of this wonderful place. So, I did want to talk about something though, so I was going to stop somewhere and record a short video, which might not be that short now I'm doing this. If you've seen anything on this channel so far, you'll have seen I mention alcohol quite regularly. And there's a reason for that. It's because I love it. I love sitting on a campsite with a bottle of wine, or possibly 2 bottles of wine, or a few beers or whatever it might be. I enjoy the feeling of being a little bit tipsy. However, 6 weeks ago today, I had my last ever drink of alcohol. No, actually, I'm saying my last ever drink of alcohol. I haven't ruled it out. But essentially, I had a get-together with an audio company I work with, a kind of end-of-year thing. And it's typically a drinking affair. It's not normally a sober do. We basically head out for a meal and drinks in Nottingham, which is great. It's a fantastic evening. But I felt like shit for 2 days. The hangover, I mean, the day after, I felt absolutely... I felt like I'd been hit by several buses, not just one bus. And... it just took me so long to get over the after effects. So I thought, okay, this is getting a bit silly now. You know, I'm 45 years old. I'm hopefully not quite over the hill yet, but I'm not as young as I used to be. And, you know, hangovers and the day after is harder to deal with. It's just that getting older thing. So I thought I'd take a break. Not intending for that to be it, and I'll never drink again. But I thought, I'll take a break. I intended that break to be a week. So I thought I'll have a set time of a week where I won't drink, and I'll just see how I feel at the end of that week. And I'll either go back to drinking or just continue with the break. And after a week, I felt so good, I just kept going. I've never had what I'd consider to be an unhealthy relationship with alcohol, and by that I mean it's never been a dependency. You know, I've never had the kind of addiction thing. It's just been something I've done because I've enjoyed it. But I have very definitely consumed alcohol in unhealthy quantities, and you know, I have kind of paid the price for it in my earlier years, getting up to. Well, about 10 years ago, working in music and alcohol being everywhere and for free. So, you know, you kind of take advantage of it. I was drinking quite a lot. I was eating shit all the time, not really taking care of myself. I was still active, but not, you know, I was putting more calories in than I was expending through activity. So I got up to about 117, 118 kilos. I was a big guy. And I remember walking through Leeds on my way through the kind of Docklands area on my way to a gig. And sorry, this is autism. This is how easily distracted I am. There are green lanes around here that you can basically take any vehicle. There are some guys on motocross bikes over on the other side. It does look fun. But anyway, so I was walking through Leeds, walking past some kind of reflective shop fronts, and I saw my own reflection. And the overwhelming thought that I had at that time was, I hate the person looking back at me. Like I full on hate that person. I hate what that person's become. And I made the choice then to do something about it. So I completely changed my routine. I didn't stop drinking. I think I did stop drinking for about 5 or 6 weeks, but that was never, it just kind of happened. And I eventually went back to drinking. But I sorted my routine out, I sorted my food out, and I dropped from 117-ish kilos right down to 82 in quite a short space of time. and I felt incredible. I felt absolutely incredible. And I stabilised then to around 86. And then COVID happened and everything went out the window. Coming out of COVID, I had pretty much 4 years of things in my personal life which led to the most, well, a depression where I nearly ended it all. Which I'm well over now, thankfully. But, you know, when you're in that kind of state, what you're eating and drinking isn't necessarily something you're particularly thinking about. So my weight crept back up to 107, 108 kilos. Never as big as I was, but far too big. Remarkably, I had a health check. Now I'm getting a bit old. I had a health check a couple of months ago, and I expected it to come back and say, basically, you're pretty broken because I've abused my body so much over the years. No problems whatsoever. My blood pressure's good, my cholesterol's fine, blood sugar's fine, everything's just fine. It didn't flag up one issue. And I kind of thought, you know, I need to try and maintain that as long as I can. I want to keep coming out to these places. I don't want to reach a point where I'm too big and too lethargic to get my arse off of the couch. I want to keep doing this. And the older I get, the harder that's going to be to maintain if I go the wrong way. So, yeah, after that horrific hangover 6 weeks ago, I just thought, I'll take a break. Felt incredible after a week. And by this point, I was still drinking quite a lot, but it was spaced out. So I'd typically drink 2 bottles of wine over the course of a week, maybe a couple of beers in there as well. But, you know, over the course of a week, still quite a lot of alcohol. And what I realised was drinking that amount of alcohol over the course of a week is enough to keep your brain subdued all the time. So every problem you face, every time you have to think your way around something, you're doing so with essentially less mental headroom. So the first thing that happened after this first week was that mental clarity started improving, which just felt incredible. It's like, you know, it's like having a RAM upgrade on a computer. Like suddenly all of these processes become easier. So after that first week, the improvements just kept coming. More of everything. Just more mental clarity, more energy, more, you know, the kind of exercise routine started becoming something that I wanted to do rather than something that, I don't know, that felt like a burden. It becomes a self-fulfilling cycle of kind of positive feedback. As you start feeling the benefits of all of this stuff, you start wanting to do more. I probably described that terribly, but hopefully you know what I mean. Yeah, so I just kept going. And after 2 weeks, I felt even better. And by the 3rd week, I was fairly solidly into thinking, well, why on earth would I ever want to drink again? As much as I've enjoyed it, I'm feeling so good that why would I want to ruin it? Why would I want to ruin it by drinking a bottle of wine, having an awful hangover, writing off a day, and I was going to say undoing all of the good stuff that I've done. It wouldn't undo it. But it just starts to feel pointless. And after a while of not drinking, the concept of drinking alcohol just starts to feel a bit silly. It's literally a neurotoxin. It kills brain cells. In fact, it doesn't just kill brain cells, it kills cells indiscriminately. So, why would I want to do that? So yeah, by the 3rd week, I was pretty much at that point of being able to almost say to myself, I'm never going to drink alcohol again. And now after 6 weeks, that feeling has only got stronger. It's a bit of a weird thought. After, you know, when you've done something for decades, I've been drinking alcohol for 30 years now. And and I've enjoyed it. You know, I've had an awful lot of fun with alcohol in various situations, but there just reaches a point where it just starts to feel a bit daft, and you start to kind of think, you know, I'm 45 years old. My time, well, I've got less of it than I had, and I need to make the most of it. And especially after everything that's happened over the last few years with the depression, and you know, I'm still here, and I want to build my life back bigger and better than it was before. And I don't want alcohol to be part of it moving forward. I don't want the lack of productivity from, you know, not being able to move in the morning because you're hungover. I don't want to kill my brain. It's weird thinking about it. It really is quite weird thinking about it. But it's all, you know, I don't know. I'm still trying to process all this. So as I'm talking to the camera and to you guys, I'm trying to process this every bit as much as you're trying to make sense of what this idiot is talking about. But it all feels very positive. And yeah, I had that weird thing then of thinking I heard footsteps behind me. But just for the moment, I'm going to admire this absolutely spectacular dam. And so the lower dam here is Scar House, which has disappeared around the corner. And there's another reservoir up here that feeds into it called Angram. I'm only going to walk a lap of Scar House today, but you can do both. There's a very handy shelter here. I'm not sure what this building would have been in its previous life, but I have had times here where I've been caught out by the incredible rain that can blow in up here. And this shelter's come in really quite handy. No sheep allowed. And what a view. Of all the reservoirs I walk around regularly, Scar House very definitely feels like the most remote. It is quite out of the way compared to some of the other reservoirs. I think people would tend to kind of flock towards Fewston, Swinstead, Grimworth. This is a little bit more out of the way, but that's why I love it. You can walk around here and, yeah, literally not see another soul, even in summer, which is really quite nice. So a little bit of Scar House Reservoir trivia. When I turn my tap on at home in Bradford, this is where the water comes from. It's fed from here. I think it's a distance of something like 30 miles, maybe even 35. But it's a fair way from here back to Bradford, and it's fed all of that way purely by gravity. There's no pumping, there's no assistance in any way. It's just fed purely through aqueducts via gravity, which I think is an incredible feat of surveying, but also an incredible feat of engineering to build it. So, pretty impressive. Just speaking about cameras as well for a second. I'm recording all of this today on the DJI Osmo Action 6. I picked this camera up a few months ago, just basically so I could do daft stuff with it. Speaking of daft stuff, I'm probably going to end up on my arse down here. yeah, just so I could record daft stuff, so I could stick it to the car, stick it to my mountain bike, take it out on the kayak, do things with it that I couldn't really do with any other camera. And it's ended up being one of my most used cameras by far, just because of how small and light it is. So the image quality, it's distinctly an action camera. It can't keep up with the Pocket 3 in terms of pure image quality, but just the ability to throw it around, how light the thing is, knowing that it can get wet, it can be dropped in puddles, and it's going to be fine. It's just fantastic. I've been so impressed with it. So I'm not really impressed by all this. Sludge. Even though I didn't plan on coming out walking today, I'm so glad I have. Although saying that, I don't think there's ever been a single occasion where I've regretted going out. Again, it's one of those kind of things, it just fuels its own positivity. And however much you might feel like having a lazy day, you always feel better for getting out and doing something. I could be about to get wet and muddy. So just to go back to the alcohol and health thing, something that I really want to do more of is fell walking up in the Lake District, because it's incredible. There is no better feeling than climbing a big hill, being away from everything, everyone, and just really being at one with the planet, especially with things being in such a mess at the moment geopolitically. Every bit of time we can spend away from that stuff with our brains focused on positive things is good, and it all helps. So I really want to spend more time doing that. And of course, when you're big, it's not easy. The healthier you are, the less weight you're carrying around, the easier it is. I've never been at a point where I haven't been able to be reasonably active, even in my very biggest days. But I'm trying to work a gate one-handed, it's not working. But yeah, the healthier you are, the easier everything is. And something I noticed massively 10 years ago when I shed a lot of weight is how much easier everything became. You know, I was quite happily going out on the bike. This is a mountain bike that's quite low geared, and riding 40-45 miles a day, which isn't bad going for someone who's, you know, I'm not out riding every day. I'm not by any means a good rider. I wouldn't class myself as being one. But when I was at my peak, I could do quite a lot. And it just felt so much easier than carrying a load of excess weight. And that also certainly helps with climbing big hills. So that's another motivation for wanting to basically be better. There are two paths along this side of the reservoir. One that runs closer down to the side of the reservoir itself, and one that comes past this long abandoned village. Every time I pass through here and I'm standing in what would have been a room, possibly somebody's living room or kitchen or whatever it might have been, but I always kind of wonder what must have happened here over the years. How many people have passed through these walls? I'm always fascinated by how nature reclaims whatever marks we make on the landscape. So just going back to the alcohol and health thing, more particularly, or more specifically, mental health. And I'm probably going to stumble my words quite a bit now, because it's not an easy thing to talk about. I'm still trying to process an awful lot of what's happened, even though I'm kind of beyond the depression, and frankly, I'm in the best place mentally I've ever been in my entire life. But I'm still trying to process things. I've said before that we as a species should not be sitting there with a phone scrolling short form content. We shouldn't be staring at a screen, really of any kind, for 10, 12 hours a day or even more. We should be active, we should be doing stuff. And I can't put into words how much being out in the open has benefited my mental health. When you're in this is the bit that's difficult to talk about, but when you're in a state of absolute catastrophic depression and the only thing on your mind is, I don't want to be here anymore, there's nothing really that can click you out of that. In my case, it took professional help. I had therapy, and I had the support of two incredible friends who I would be absolutely lost without. But I couldn't get myself out of that mess. It basically took one of those friends. It would have been both of them, but one got there first. It took one of those friends literally forcing me into therapy and saying, you are going to do this. It took that to kind of fix my brain. And one of those friends, he's a medical professional, he's worked in the NHS for 25 plus years, and he said it really, really articulately. The brain is just another organ in the body, and in the same way as you could break an ankle or break an arm or whatever, sometimes your brain gets a little bit broken as well and just needs some help to push it back in the right direction, which is what therapy is. I'm also going to ramble quite a lot in this section, I think, so hopefully you can stick with me. So, that kind of catastrophic level of depression is a thing of its own. But when you're just feeling a bit down, or when you're not really feeling yourself, this helps so much. I can't put into words, I can't articulate in words how good for your mental health getting outside is. And it's helped me enormously, and it still does. This to me is therapy. Being out here, hardly seeing another soul, and just being at one with the planet is therapy. It feels absolutely wonderful. And I can't help but feel if more people did this, if more people stopped looking at screens and took themselves outside, there'd be less mental health problems. And this really is one of the reasons I want to sort my health out going forwards, because I want to keep doing this. I want to be able to do more fell climbing in the Lake District. I want to be able to mountain bike more. I want to be able to kayak more, because all of these things help keep my brain in one piece. And of course, the less healthy you are, the harder that is to do. So again, it is quite a difficult thing to talk about. And I know I'm pausing and probably not making a huge amount of sense, but hopefully the message is reasonably clear-ish, that this is good. This is good for us as humans. It's good for the soul. It's good for everything. It's good for your physical health. It's good for your mental health. And I want to be able to do it for years and years and years to come. And I don't want to end up in 10 years realising that I'm so big and so out of practice that walking 20 feet makes my joints ache. So something else with alcohol. I've been doing quite a lot of research recently into basically what alcohol does to your body, what it does to your brain. And I had an experience recently with somebody I've been very, very close to for 3 decades, where they responded to a situation which should have been quite easy to resolve. It should have just been a chat. And they responded in a way that was so out of character and so severe, it completely destroyed our relationship. And having done some research into what alcohol does, if you're a heavy drinker, which this person is, I can see a correlation how this person handled this situation and wouldn't have handled it in the same way 15, 20 years ago. And I don't want to become that person, because it is very easy to fall into a habit of drinking every day, drinking, more than you would think. It's quite easy to think, I'm only having 2 or 3 beers, and then when you count it up, you're actually having 4 or 5 and doing that every night. In this person's case, it's more like 1 or 2 bottles of wine a night. And that's gone on for years. So I don't want to be that person. I don't want to get into that habit. I don't want to be drinking a bottle of wine a day and just thinking, it's just what I do. I get back and I wind down. But then it has all sorts of other repercussions. So ultimately, I can't think of a single negative in cutting out alcohol. Not a single one. I can think of many, many positives. But even financial, that's something I didn't mention, just saving money. And it isn't just the money that you would save by not buying a bottle of wine or whatever. It's the money that you save by not thinking, sod it, I'll order a pizza. It's another 10, 15 quid down the drain. So you do that over, 2 nights a week, it does add up. But I can't think of a single negative of cutting out alcohol, which really is the reason. I don't see any reason to ever go back. I'm saving money, I'm feeling better, I'm healthier, I'm losing weight, I'm getting more stamina, I'm happier. If I haven't already said that, why go back? Well, I knew this would be a kind of rambly video because it's quite a rambly subject, although it would have been infinitely more rambly if I'd have had a few beers. But yeah, so I just thought I'd do a little video, as I intend to use this channel as more of a kind of personal diary, marking the start, the 6-week point of me being sober. The interesting thing, we'll be doing camping trips and holidays. I've already had a couple of days with, hang on a second, I'll just show you. Oh no, it's going. Fine. Yeah, the interesting thing will be holidays and camping trips, because they're traditionally quite heavy drinking times. But I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to being able to be up in the Lake District. If an aurora alert pops up on the phone at 10 o'clock at night, I can just go and jump in the car without thinking about it. Without thinking, oh, hang on a second, I had 3 beers at 6 o'clock, can I drive? I can just drive. And I'm looking forward to being more productive on holidays. I want to get out with a camera on holiday, and there have been so many occasions. Shh. Thank you. I've had so many occasions on holiday where I've wanted to go out with a camera, and I've had a few too many mojitos the night before, and I've just written the morning off or the day off. So you end up going somewhere really nice, wanting to get out with a camera, and all that happens is you lose days because you're too hungover to get your sorry ass out of bed. It's just silly. So as much as holidays would traditionally have been kind of time for drinky poos, I'm really looking forward to being able to be more productive, to be able to jump in a hire car or jump on the quad in Skiathos in a couple of months and just head out really early or stay out late at night. Because of course you would kind of have that thing of, oh, well, it's 6, 7 o'clock, time for a cheeky beer. And again, it just writes the rest of the night off. Yeah, we will see. But there's certainly a lot to look forward to and a lot to enjoy about this sober life. I'm not far from the end of the walk now. I'm back down at the dam, the equally impressive dam on Scar House. And the view from here really is spectacular, looking down the valley. Well, I'm back at the car, so I'm going to leave the video there. I know it's been a rambly one and I've probably made less sense than normal, which isn't a very high benchmark to start with. But if you have managed to watch to this point, I really do appreciate it, so thank you so much. I'd also love to hear your thoughts if you have recently stopped drinking alcohol or if you're maybe looking at making that change. I'd love to hear the reasons why and the differences it's made to your life if you have stopped. So please do feel free to drop a comment. But other than that, I'm going to get on my way home and I'll just see you next time. Bye for now.